the company was founded in 2004. We incorporated in 2005. It's a very small bunch of people, about 75 plus, fanatically analytical search marketers. And I must upfront state that we are all huge fans of Einstein out here in this company. So that's the reason you would see that this entire hashtag SEO week coincides with Einstein's birthday. We have 3 business lines. I think a lot of you probably already know about this. We act as a full service search marketing agency providing services. We have our own technology as well. On the technology side, NetElixir Retail is our enterprise level SEM, SEO, social media optimization, analytics technology. NetElixir Marketplace is a collection of free search marketing tools, and NetElixir SEO is a DIY SEO tool plus a task manager. We also offer extensive strategic consulting to retail marketers like Toys R Us, etc. Moving on, NetElixir University. So this happened about 3 years back. So we said that we have been lucky enough to work with some amazing clients, and we are so exceptionally thankful for all the experience, all the exposure that we have been able to get in the retail space. But again, the purpose of NetElixir always has been, how can we help businesses succeed online? And we started NetElixir University with a very, very direct and a simple purpose. The purpose was, how can we share knowledge? How can we teach, train, share information and practical knowledge on search marketing with 10,000 businesses worldwide by the end of 2015. It was about 3 years back a pretty big, hairy, audacious goal. I must state that. But as we really sort of move forward, we have been absolutely delighted to see a tremendous amount of response by all the attendees, that audience, etc., who have found our workshops to be exceptionally practical, found our workshops to be exceptionally DIY types. Essentially, you can really take away these ideas and implement it immediately. So that's one of the big reasons why we keep on focusing on sharing knowledge. And the hashtag SEO week, the next 5 days, Sean is essentially trying to further our purpose of sharing knowledge. We would love for you to join our NetElixir University LinkedIn group. It's a pretty unique group where we keep on sharing all of our latest research. We have a very solid set of members in the NetElixir University group. We have Harvard professors, we have Columbia professors, we have senior retail marketers, and so on. I mean, if you are still not a member, I would very highly recommend that you join this, because that will give you a first-hand access to all the discussions which are happening within the group, as well as all the research which directly gets uploaded there first. Why hashtag SEO week? That was a big question. I think the first part was, and this number may have changed because the final touches of this presentation, or this part, or this bullet, happened about 30 minutes back. So as of now, there are about 250 million active websites. Active websites in the sense there is some activity going on in the websites. So essentially, understandably, finding your website can become a challenge, right? So SEO helps your website get found on Google and Bing. So this is something which, SEO is something which is applicable to any person who runs a website. And that's the reason we felt that hashtag SEO week is just our overall thank you to the SEO space and really sort of helping people to manage their SEO program much more effectively. The second part, and we would rather be a little blunt here, SEO is not about fooling Google. Let me repeat that statement. SEO is not about fooling Google, right? It is about doing the right thing. And over the next 5 days, again, you are going to sort of learn, understand, debate, discuss a lot of those practical tips which have really helped us do exceptionally well with all of our clients over the last about 10 odd years in the SEO side. The last one is more of the university concept. I mean, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for the lifeline. So the idea of this, or the purpose of this entire workshop is, this is going to be a 100% knowledge sharing, but there is just one contingency that it has. There is just one thing that we are dependent on, and that dependency is on having very active, dynamic, curious students, right? Which is basically you. So we would very strongly request you to ask questions. I have Jennifer. She'll be sort of taking you through the Q&A round at the end, and Sean will sort of try to answer as many questions as possible. But one of the things which I must sort of commit is we will ensure that each and every question asked, whether we are able to do it on phone but it will definitely be answered either through phone or a personalized call, email, whatever it is. The purpose, again, to restate this, is to help you succeed doing good SEO. And of course, why are we doing hashtag SEO week this week? Because again, for those of you science fans out there, this also happens to be marking the 100 years of the very famous theory of relativity, which Professor Einstein really, it was almost like a stroke of genius. So it's almost like, take it as almost like our tribute to a beautiful mind. The curriculum, again, this would be a very lecture-ish sort of 5 days. So the first day, which is basically today, Sean will be taking you through the basics of SEO. These are the fundamental building blocks of SEO, without which it's almost impossible to run an optimal or a great search marketing or search engine optimization campaign. Tomorrow he'll be discussing semantic search. Now, for some of you, semantic search may seem a little almost like, probably in certain cases, gibberishes. I don't know, Sean, whether you would agree with that, but so essentially Sean will try to cut through the clutter of all these jargons and get to the basics. This is what you need to know, which will really help your site advance on Google. The third one is probably the one that where we have got the maximum response for, SEO content creation. How to really write content which is SEO friendly, right? How to write content which is SEO friendly but doesn't really aim at fooling Google in any way. So again, just to sort of make it very clear. The fourth day, which is Thursday, we'll have social media optimization. Social is playing more and more an increasingly important role in the entire SEO world. So that's what Sean would be covering. The last day would be of all the algorithm updates. So Google is famous because I believe, and again, I'm sure Sean will sort of present this, but in 2012, I believe there were 665 small or big algorithm changes or updates which Google made. Now, 665 essentially is 2 updates a day almost, right? So not to really overwhelm you with all these dynamism of Google, but helping you to understand what is that you should need to focus on, and more importantly, what is that you should not focus on. The overall format that we would prefer to sort of use is initial 45 minutes would be structured content lecture, and we are using this word lecture for a purpose. It's going to be sort of done entirely by Sean Swaim, who's our global SEO head. That would be followed by a student-teacher interaction, which we call the Q&A. That would be about 10 minutes, and at the end of it, every day, Sean will present to you a daily assignment, homework. So this is literally sort of back to SEO school for all of you guys. And we will be sort of discussing the problem, or discussing the solution to the problem, or one of the sample solutions to the problem. Let us say today's problem, tomorrow's problem, day after, and so on and so forth. So that's the format. Last but not the least, who's the lecturer? Can you believe you will sort of actually have to sort of learn from this guy? I mean, he looks an absolute geek out here. But anyway, I mean, he also happens to be one of the most amazing SEO guys that you probably can learn from. He leads the SEO function at NetElixir. And with this, let me sort of hand it over to Sean. Sean, take it away. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Udayan. And thank you once again to everybody for sticking with us through the technical issues in the beginning. If there's not much more proof that this is being done live, then I don't know what other proof there potentially could be. So basically what we wanted to kick off with was, of course, laying out the foundation. We wanted to lay out what the basics of SEO are, and we wanted to just outline and say, okay, here's where we have to begin. You really can't build up until you have all of these individual pieces complete. So as Udayan had mentioned, this is designed to be completely interactive. What we would like you to do is send us an email, and what you're going to get from us is an on-page optimization worksheet. So the purpose of this worksheet is that as we go through each element of SEO on-page optimization, you will be able to go ahead and fill out all of the pieces as we move along. And then what you can do in the end is take that worksheet, save your work in it, and then email it back to us when I say, okay, it's time to email your worksheets back. And then what we're going to actually go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and review, if time permitting, we're going to go ahead and review 2 of them on this webinar here, so that we can share, what kind of work is being completed, and just making sure that everything is, everybody is picking up with what we were discussing here. So once again, just wanted to give another second here. workshop@NetElixir.com. Send us an email, and we will go ahead and get that over to you. I hear Jenny on the other side of the table going crazy, clicking away, getting these out. So very good. So you will have this worksheet in your inbox within about the next 5 minutes or so. So sit tight. We're not going to get on this right this second. So I'll just ask Jenny for a thumbs up once she gets that out, and then we will be we'll take it from there. So before we, as we're getting started here, we do have some rules to lay out for SEO Week. Of course, we encourage a lot of questions. The harder, the better. It's how we learn. And I encourage what I try and throw out there is please try to stump me. Let's try and get those really hard questions out there, because it's going to be a learning experience for everybody. All unanswered questions, as Udain mentioned, we will be in touch. We will also be publishing a blog that goes through all of the individual things that we're talking about here, and any questions that we weren't able to get to. Of course, we're going to encourage you to take screenshots throughout the course of the webinar. So this is going to help you. You're going to be able to take these pieces and apply them to your website, and this will help you improve your business's website performance. And of course, tweet at us. We are at NetElixir, and of course, use hashtag SEOWeek, and that's going to help us keep everything in the loop here. And of course, the #1 rule of overall above everything else is to have fun. This is, it's educational, but of course, SEO is a fun space to be a part of. So let's make sure we're having fun as we're going through this here. So of course, the very, very basic thing to begin with when we're talking about, SEO and laying out the foundation. What is SEO? Of course, SEO is the art and science of modifying your website in a way that is going to appeal to search engines for your website to appear higher in the organic search results. When we're referring to the search engine page that we see, we're going to refer to it as the SERP, stands for Search Engine Results page, of course. So if you hear that term throughout the course of today, that's going to be what we're talking about. So basically, we're going to go through the individual steps that will help us rank higher in Google, Yahoo, and Bing, and other modern search engines as well. It's of course important to note that the reason that we do SEO is because roughly 60 to 70% of search engine traffic is done through the organic listings. Now, despite the fact that there is a minimal presence above the fold, there is still a high percentage of traffic that goes through those organic listings. And of course, the other thing to keep in mind is that SEO is really a method of pull marketing rather than push marketing. So as a marketer, you are going out and people are looking for your service, and rather than the traditional sense where you put an ad in a newspaper or a magazine or a billboard or something along those lines where you're just pushing your message out, this is a means of getting people to find you when they are looking for you. And once again, the email address is workshop@netelixir.com, NETELXIR.com. Okay, so the process of SEO at its core is essentially, there's two steps. The first one is understanding websites and how a high-performing website functions, and understanding all of the individual pieces of a website that Google looks at or other search engines look at when they're determining where your website should rank. Then the other side of it is to try to understand the search engines and their algorithms as best as possible. So it's really just trying to mesh up knowing what search engines are looking at and then applying what we know of that to getting that information in front of them in a smooth way so that they can determine where you're going to rank. So when we begin to understand how a website is constructed, at the end of the day, there are millions and endless ways that you can correctly engineer a website. Yet there are only a handful of elements that search engines look for relevance when it comes to determining what they are going to incorporate into their ranking systems. So as a web developer, there's a bunch of ways that you can get things done. So for instance, your navigation, that you can name that anything you want, and Google will not necessarily know that you are referring to your navigation. SEO, as a practice, helps streamline that effort and make sure that the elements that you're putting in front of Google are, in fact, are making it so that Google can understand and put it into some form of order. Okay. So what we're going to start going through now is a discussion and a review of the optimizable. I believe that is a word. We're going to look at the optimizable elements of a website that you want to make sure that you do not ignore. And of course, it begins with the page title and meta descriptions. Those are the elements that you're going to see on the SERP. And then we're going to move into things that are more visible on the website, like content, heading tags, images, internal links. And then, of course, we're going to talk about some more technical things like your robots.txt file and your XML sitemaps and sitemaps so that Google can be directed in a specific direction. And then next, we're going to be looking at some technical considerations. So things like your website load time and mobile friendliness. We're going to start to look at those elements as well. I still see Jenny frantically going through here, so we'll give her another moment. So to get started, so what we're going to start with, you're going to have this in your inbox in just about 2 seconds. So what we're going to begin with in talking about is the page title element. So the page title element actually displays in 2 locations. You're going to see it in the SERP, and you're also going to see it in a browser tab. So what you can see here, this top image up here is actually of the SERP. So on Google, this is what it looks like, and the highlighted area is the page title. I will argue that the page title element is the most important element in on-page optimization. So there are, as we mentioned, a number of elements, but the page title is going to be one of the first things that Google sees when they look at your website to determine if your website should rank in a specific position. So by having that element properly optimized, that is going to be a very first ranking signal that you can put in front of Google. Now, some best practices to include here. You're going to want to make sure that you stay within a character limit, 65 characters. And then what you're also going to want to make sure of is that you include a major keyword that you want to be found in Google for. And then, of course, make sure that you are following natural language. So everybody should have that worksheet in their inbox now. So as you're opening that, I'm going to just explain how we write a page title. The page title element, as I mentioned, should be written in completely natural language. There was an old structure of page title that just essentially functioned as keyword, comma, keyword, comma, keyword, and if we had room left, we put a brand in there too. That isn't the way that we want to go about it now. Udayan alluded to the algorithm updates. That was a major part of it. We want to make sure that the page title reads in completely natural language, but while also touching on the keywords that we want to target. So this seems to be a structure that works pretty well. Do a broad primary keyword, then a conjunctions, and then brand. So we can see that by the example here, Easy SEO Software by NetElixir SEO. We can see that that's how that is structured there. We can tell that we are trying to target the term Easy SEO Software. And then if there's room, we want to put in that secondary keyword. Now remember that Google reads your website just like you and I do. So they do read it, obviously much faster. But they do take that information and they use that when they are grading your website for their algorithm. And it is one of the first things that they do read. So this is one area that you want to make sure that you are implementing as close to correctly as possible. Fun fact, up until about 6 months ago, the character limit for the page title was actually at 70 characters. Google introduced a slight design change that actually increased the font size of the page title just a tiny bit. But when they did that, it actually also went ahead and decreased the character limit to about 65 characters. So for the longest time, the SEO practice was make sure your character limit is at 70 characters, your character limit is 70 characters. Right now it is actually decreased a little bit because of that design change within the SERP. The next item is the meta description. So the meta description is actually an element that displays only in the SERP. Or if you're a technical individual, you can go into the back end of the website and find it there too. But the only place that it is visible to the end user is in the SERP. It is important to note that this is actually also not a ranking factor. We're going to get into why we still look at this item in just a moment here. But some of the best practices that we want to follow. The character limit of the meta description is 156 characters. If you exceed that character limit with both the meta description and the page title, your messaging will actually be cut off. So you'll see like a ... at the end of the sentence there. So your messaging is just not going to be presented to your potential end user in a full sense. Same rules apply here. We want to make sure that we are including major keywords and that we are also using natural language. You also want to make sure that all the pages of your website have unique meta descriptions. It is actually better practice to have a blank meta description or no meta description at all rather than duplicating meta descriptions from page to page to page of a website. Now, when we write meta descriptions, of course, the one thing we have to take into consideration and keep in mind is that we are utilizing that 156 character limit. We also mentioned that you are going to want to include major keywords within the meta description, even though it is not a ranking signal. The reason for this, if we look beyond this yellow highlight here, this term NetElixir SEO is actually in bold. That is because that is what I searched for when I pulled this screenshot. So by including major keywords in your meta description, that will actually allow you to get that bolding effect, and it will actually help the end user find what they were looking for. So because the meta description is not a ranking factor, we can use this as an area to do tests within the SERP. So we can actually use the meta description to see what gets us the best click-through rate, which calls to actions perform the best, and see what kind of impact that we can have on conversion rate and other things along those lines. So moving on to content. So content is obviously, truthfully, what makes up the web. People are going through and reading content across the web at a very, very high rate. So one thing to keep in mind is that Google absolutely reads your content just like your end user. Google, again, at a very much faster rate. So what you want to make sure that you're trying to do is that you include a 300-word minimum on each page of targeted content that you want to go after. And you're going to want to make sure that you include your major keywords that you want your website to perform for at least a couple times throughout that content. The most important rule of writing content for search engine optimization is to make sure that you are writing for the end user and not the search engines. Just like with the page title, just like with the meta description, there was always a practice of writing things for the search engines, and over time, Google caught up, other search engines caught up and realized that this manipulative behavior was taking place, and they updated their algorithms accordingly. So, content is essentially what Google needs to sink its teeth into. You need to present information to Google so that they know what your website is about. The page title, meta description are great, but in theory, those are for Google so that Google has something to display in the SERP, in the search engine results page. The content is there for the end user, and Google needs to understand what you are trying to talk to the end user about. Of course, doing a little bit of a plug here, of course, we are going to be having Content Day on Wednesday, so if you haven't registered and if you're interested, of course, please feel free to sign up. Registration's still open for that day, so feel free to get that across to us. The next item is a heading tag. So heading tags range from H1 to H6 in HTML. So when you're writing an H tag or a heading tag, the structure is from H1 to H6. H1 is your first and most important heading tag, and H6 is going to be your least important. So they descend in order in your coding. So when you're writing and creating and crafting the perfect heading tags, the one thing that you want to make sure of is that they function like a heading in a newspaper. I have seen websites that manipulate the CSS or the style sheets of their websites so that the entire first paragraph gets attributed with the heading or the H1 tag. Google will obviously pick up on this very quickly, and your website will not perform as well as it should. The purpose of the heading tag is so that it functions like a headline in a newspaper. So you do want to keep that in mind and write your content accordingly. You want to be informative and not spammy. The obvious objective is to make sure that you are not manipulating the algorithm in any way. Images are the next thing that we're going to talk about. So images are great for the web. What we actually included here was a screenshot of a website that includes no image. What you want to make sure of is that you are including images because they are going to help your end user stay on your website longer, and they're going to associate with it more. We're obviously much more visual creatures than we are into reading giant blocks of content. Now, the thing to mention is that Google does not yet know what an image is of. And of course, the operative word there is yet. They are working to make sure that they can understand what images are on your website. But for the time being, what you can do is give hints with the alt tag. So the image alt tag essentially exists as a way, if you think about if an image fails to load on a website, this is going to help be a descriptive tag to the end user of what should be in that place. That is a ranking signal for Google. It is a small ranking signal, but it is a signal for Google. Some of the most important best practices that you're going to want to keep in mind: do not load your alt tags with keywords. You do not want to keyword stuff in any location, but the image alt tags are an area where Google is sensitive because it was an overly manipulated element in SEO for a long time. And then, of course, make sure that your images load fast. We want to make sure that the end user can get through, read the content on our website, and be along with their journey in a much quicker amount of time. Internal links are the next topic here. Internal links are very interesting because it goes into a couple different areas of SEO, which we're going to cover in a moment here. But for the purposes of on-page optimization, internal links can be used as a means of showing Google's crawlers where to go when they go from page to page to page. We talked about, we're talking about the strength of individual web pages, and when one page on your website is stronger than another page on your website, you can actually use these internal links to pass some of that value along to other areas within your website. Of course, as with everything in SEO, we have to make sure that it is done naturally. If I can just put it into perspective, the one website that uses this tactic perfectly, and it actually leads to my belief that they are the best optimized website on the web, is Wikipedia. So if you think about how Wikipedia is structured, there are links upon links upon links from page to page to page of their website. That is a perfect internal linking structure. Now you can use, of course, the keywords that exist within those links, and that value of the keyword that is in that link will pass along to the next page. The next thing that we want to cover is the robots.txt and the sitemaps files within your website. So the robots.txt file is very, very simple. Basically what you do is you tell Google where to and where not to go. If everybody would like to write down, NetElixirmarketplace.com. It's our tool website where we offer lots of free SEO and SEM tools. We actually have a robots.txt generator tool on there. Again, that is NetElixirmarketplace.com. That's going to allow you to build your own robots.txt file, and it will get you a file that can be uploaded within your website, and that will allow Google to know where to and where not to go. Some of the things that you don't want Google to go to, of course, are your admin areas. So if you have a WordPress or a Joomla or other CMS type of website, you want to make sure that Google cannot crawl the admin areas just because that's not going to provide any quality information to the end users or to Google as well. And then, of course, the other thing to mention is a sitemap. So what we have on the screen here is a screenshot of an example XML sitemap. This is what is going to help Google crawl from page to page to page on the web. On your website, and it's going to help give a few clues as to how important all of the individual pages are. So you can include things like the page importance, the last time it was updated, and how often it's updated, so that you can give some clues to Google as to the priority of these pages. Then some other technical considerations to keep in mind as well. Make sure that your website is ready for the mobile web. You want to make sure that you either have a mobile version of your website, or at least your website is coded in a responsive manner so that when somebody lands on your website, no matter what device they're on, they can see all the content on your website easily. And of course, we want to make sure that the content on our website loads absolutely fast. New fun fact. Starting on April 21st, 2015, mobile website ranking, the presence of a mobile website will be looked at as a ranking factor for mobile devices. So if you consider the fact that there are the mobile usage is growing astronomically year over year over year. Think of what kind of impact that would have if your website did not show up on a mobile search result if somebody was using their mobile phone because your website was not mobile friendly. Okay, so that brings us through the on-page optimization portion here. So we hope everyone was able to follow along. But what we would encourage you to do is to email us your worksheets back to workshop@NetElixir.com. You can either get that to us now, and we will try to review it, time permitting. We will try to review them live on the webinar here today. Remember, we are, of course, live. Or we will reach back out to you to try and get something else set up at a later time. So we hope that everybody takes advantage of this, because this is going to be a really helpful thing for you to see, you know, how your website is currently setting. So it looks like we might have a couple of them coming back in here. So once again, if there is time at the end of the webinar here after the questions, we will go ahead and review them, but that will be time permitting, of course. Okay, so the next section of this here is to understand how algorithms function. Algorithms essentially function in three ways. They go through the process of crawling the web's information, indexing, so that's putting that into a specific order, and then displaying that information for the world to see. So crawling, essentially, what you're going to want to do is think of Google like a spider. The whole purpose of this spider is to go and crawl the web for useful information. And the little note that I have included here is that the purpose of SEO is to ensure that when this crawl is taking place, our websites are allowing these spiders to do so efficiently. So that means that our website, the code is easy to read, the crawler can get from page to page to page of our website simply, and that they are able to just do so in a quick way, because that's the kind of trust signal that Google is looking for when they want to find and display information. So then it comes to indexing. So after the crawler has done its job of going out and finding all of this great information, it's up to the algorithm to take over and put all of that information into a certain order. And then the other side of it from an SEO perspective is to make sure that when this indexing is taking place, that our information is presented within search engine quality guidelines, so that we can make sure that we are getting the best credit for our website as possible. Then, of course, after that, it's showtime. At that point, Google takes that information and displays it. So the reason that we're showing this information is because we have to understand that as Google is going out and crawling all of the individual pieces of the web, we can make sure that everything that we have control over within our website is as optimized as possible. And knowing that Google has these three steps, we can make sure that all of the pieces of our website are falling into what Google's core functions are, and then that information will be able to be displayed accurately. So we're going to go through a little bit of a history lesson with what led us to the modern search engine, what is synonymously referred to as Google, just kind of as a blanket term for all search engines. Before Google, obviously, search engines, they were frustrating, inaccurate, and they would never last long from a popularity standpoint. About 15 years ago, when I was in high school, you know, every month it seemed like there was a new search engine. You know, oh, who do we go to today? Oh, go to Dogpile. Oh, no, it's not Dogpile anymore. Go to Alta Vista. Nope, that one's done. Now go to Ask Jeeves. There was always a need for a new search engine, and of course, these are those search engines here. And the reason that all of this took place was because SEOs would come out and manipulate these algorithms and get their clients ahead of other websites. So it was kind of an inflated, not 100% accurate ranking. So for instance, we talked about the page title element very early in this session here. The rules of coding a website state that you need to only have one page title element, and that's it, or else your website shouldn't work. One of the old algorithms, one of the old search engines actually had a system where if you included more than one page title, that was actually a ranking signal in your favor. So the reason that we bring that up is because it's a clear showing that these algorithms were very weak and not very technically sound. And that was until Google came along. Google introduced several new concepts. The first was the ability to look at links as a ranking factor. So the ability to look at other websites that are linking to your website, and they were able to look at that and determine, okay, that this website holds some form of credibility. And then there was also the ability to grade a website based on the links that website has coming to it. So it's just a big cyclical circle of links and page quality. And of course, that was referred to as one of Google's original patents. It is called the PageRank. So what we wanted to cover here was, if you think of it in this term, I think it really sums up how the off-page optimization algorithm works. So if you picture a teacher, she gives an assignment to her class and she says, hey, I would like everybody here to please write a paper about the American Civil War. She gets the 10 assignments back, and 5 of them are just absolutely phenomenal. She looks at the bibliography of those 5 reports, and she sees that all 5 of them include the same book that was used as a reference. In this instance, the teacher would be Google. And in a case where somebody would say, what book should I use to reference as I'm writing this paper on the American Civil War, that book would be position number 1 because it has been cited in so many other areas across, in this case, the classroom, but in other cases, the web. Now, of course, that opens us up for the question of, well, if Google is looking at that, couldn't I just build another website and use that for links? Or couldn't I just fill out a form and get a backlink that way? You could, but this was absolutely manipulated over the years, and Google went ahead and took action. So because of the fact that it led to the unreliable rankings, Google wanted to clear things up, and they released a series of algorithm updates. Of course, we're going to get into that in great detail on Friday, so please make sure you're registered for that. That's going to be a very important day here. But there was a number of algorithm updates that cleared out this easy off-page SEO, and it's now led to a more holistic world of off-page optimization. So when we're talking about links, what we want to refer to is this chart here that shows the breakdown of a link. Anything that is highlighted in red is, of course, all that is needed in HTML for your link to function. The elements that are in black are other things. The main thing that I wanted to highlight here was the relationship and the attribute there, because what this is, this is something that was initiated by Google. So when you have a link, you can put this relationship and attribute in there, so rel equals no follow. And what that's actually going to do is we know that Google uses links to crawl all of the individual pages of the web. And when Google goes through their course on the web, you can implement this relationship attribute to stop Google in its tracks. So This was implemented because people were taking advantage of this link policy, and it was allowing people to really, just abuse the links. And so what this allowed website owners to do was take ownership and take away the value of that link. So that is just a little tidbit of information there when it comes to physical links. So what are some legitimate ways of improving your off-page optimization? I highly encourage this screen to be screen captured right now. Some of the things that you can do is, of course, PR, so getting the word out there about your website, getting other people to talk about you. Event sponsorships are great. Product or service reviews, getting your getting your service or product talked about on other websites and getting links back that way. That is a great way as well. Also, you can go ahead and get videos created. That's going to help you get signals from both YouTube and other video sharing websites as well. And then, of course, relevant business directories. So we're not talking about your general web directories, the SEO courts of the world. I'm sure 4 people will understand that one. But anyway, the relevant business directory, so if you are a plumber, you get submitted to a plumbing directory or a home services directory and get your backlink that way. And then, of course, we want to pose the question, what are some other ideas out there that you could do that are going to help you improve your website's off-page optimization performance? So there is by no means a limit to these items to acquire backlinks. The main thing is that we want to make sure that we are creative and acquiring backlinks naturally, not in a way that is manipulative, but in a way that Google understands that we are just trying to interact with the web in a better place. And of course, social media could be a great place to start with that discussion. So in a nutshell, and this is a very, very high level nutshell here, the process of SEO is, of course, perfecting your on-page optimization, getting your website's on-page optimization in line with what Google wants to see, and then taking the off-page optimization tactics and applying them in a way that Google is going to be giving you credit for in a way that is not going to be looked at as spam. So, of course, just wanted to reiterate the curriculum here before we jump over to questions. And it looks like we do have a few of these coming across. So we're going to, sorry, bear with us here. All right. So I'm hoping that everybody doesn't mind that we are going to read through one of these live. So it looks like we have a submission from fantasyjocks.com. It looks like the page title that was included here, it says Fantasy Football Draft Board Kit, Player Labels, - the Custodian. So, just giving honest feedback here. For me, I would like to see if there was a way that we could give a little bit more of a natural structure to this, with it just being Fantasy Football Draft Board Kit, Player Labels. I'm not really sure 100% what that page is about. So I would like to see a little bit more of a mention of your brand in this case, and just getting that piece of it there. Then the meta description reads as, looking for a fantasy football draft board for your next live draft party? Look no further, Hoss. We've got you covered. I think that's fantastic. The ability to incorporate a brand's attitude and your overall brand tone, I think that's perfect. Now, you're running at about 120 characters there, so there's even some more room to play with there. But you're including, I'm assuming that fantasy football draft kit. You have that included in that meta description, so definitely a good area to begin with. to start to build from here. All right, so in the interest of time, just with the number of questions that are coming through looks pretty good here. Please keep them coming too, just so that we can make sure that we get to them in the end. All right, so it looks like we're good to go here, Jenny. So go ahead and read the first one there.
All righty, Sean. If you happen to exceed a character limit, other than your message sort of showing up truncated on the SERP, does it really impact your site's ratings at all, rankings on Google?
Okay, so we're talking about a couple different things here. So we have the idea that the message is going to be cut off. The one thing that we want to make sure that we are cognizant of is that every category on the web is incredibly competitive. We look at the character limits within on-page optimization as a means of saying, can Google trust our website? Okay, so from my perspective, if we are exceeding the character limits, it's one of those overall ranking factors that exist. So it's one of those overall things that Google is just looking at to say that, what am I trying to say? So if Google is seeing that overall our website, everything is exceeding the character limit, it could be points against us. However, we do want to make, just beyond that point, Google just doesn't look at those elements either. So I hope that question makes sense.
Alrighty, here's another one. Should you use a no-follow attribute for links given in an affiliate marketing program?
Great question, great question. So links and affiliates are a tricky situation because we obviously need to make sure that we have links in order for an affiliate program to work. But obviously, Google has their strict guidelines of where how many links you should have per each website. So best practice is that what you should do is, if it's going to be a site-wide link, I would encourage that you use a no-follow attribute in those instances. Really, at the end of the day, if you're not sure, put a no-follow attribute on the link. And really, you don't get that full page rank to flow through from that website to yours, but Google does still understand that link exists. So it's kind of playing both sides of the sword there. So I hope that was clear.
Alrighty, here's one I've been wondering too. What does meta in meta description stand for?
Okay, so meta essentially is just high-end data. So it's essentially web-friendly. It's essentially web-friendly information, and it will live in the header area of your website. So it's just a blanket term, and actually that's a really good question. If meta means anything, I'll definitely look into that and get back to you. But I think that's a really interesting thing to look at.
And will all the slides be available later after SEO Week is done?
Yes, actually, yes. All of the slides will be available, and also we're recording everything as well. We'll of course edit out the microphone incident here in the beginning, but all kidding aside, we will go ahead and get the information out to everybody after SEO Week has concluded. And I'm seeing this thing just came through here. Meta, the Wikipedia definition from the Greek preposition and the prefix meta, meaning after or beyond. So little learning tidbit for everybody there. Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to the end of day one of SEO Week. We want to thank everybody for joining us here. Of course, On Saturday will be Pi Day, what will be referred to as Epic Pi Day, just because of the date, year, and time that will coincide with it. So I hope everybody has a nice celebration for that. And we hope you can join us for the other sessions throughout the course of the week. Registration is still open for all of those. So, of course, it is at NetElixir.com/SEOWeek, all one word. And see any topics there that are interesting, please go ahead and sign up. And we hope to see everybody down the road here, and that you can be a part of the event in the future. So we look forward to seeing everybody there, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us.